Hello, this is Bible in a Year. Thanks for joining me. And I didn't get enough reading done yesterday, so I'm going to do also Genesis 3 today, and then add 4 and 5. I should add 6, but I'll catch up another day. And Psalm 2 and Matthew 2. Genesis 3. Now the serpent was the most clever of all the wild beasts that the Lord God had made. And so God had said, "That you are not to eat from any tree of the garden," he said to the woman. "From the fruit of the trees of the garden we may eat," said the woman to the serpent. "It is only concerning the fruit of the tree which is in the middle of the garden that God has said, 'You may not eat of any of it, nor touch it, lest you die.'" But the serpent said to the woman, "You would not die at all, for God knows that the very day you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like gods, who know good from evil." So when the woman realized that the tree was good for food and attractive to the eye, and further, that the tree was desirable for its gift of wisdom, she took some of its fruit and ate it. She also gave some to her husband with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they realized that they were naked. So they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves girdles. But when they heard the sound of the Lord God taking a walk in the garden for the breezes of the day, the man and his wife hid themselves from the Lord God among the trees of the garden. The Lord God called to the man. "Where are you?" he said to him. "I heard the sound of you in the garden," he replied, "and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid myself." "Who told you that you were naked?" he said. "Have you eaten from the tree from which I commanded you not to eat?" The man said, "The woman whom you set at my side, it was she who gave me the fruit from the tree, so I ate it." Then the Lord God said to the woman, "Whatever have you done?" The woman said, "It was the serpent that misled me, and so I ate it." So the Lord said to the serpent, "Because you have done this, the most cursed of all animals shall you be, and of all wild beasts. On your belly you shall crawl and eat dust as long as you live. I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your posterity and hers. They shall attack you in the head, and you shall attack them in the heel." To the woman he said, "I will make your pain at childbirth very great, and in pain shall you bear children, and yet you shall be devoted to your husband, while he shall rule over you." And to the man he said, "Because you followed your wife's suggestions and ate from the tree from which I commanded you not to eat, cursed shall be the ground through you. In suffering shall you gain your living, and from it as long as you live. Thorns and thistles shall it produce for you, so that when you will have to eat wild plants. By the sweat of your brow shall you earn your living, until you return to the ground, since it was from it that you were taken, for you are dust, and to dust you must return." The man called his wife's name Eve, mother, because she was the mother of all living beings. The Lord God made skin tunics for the man and his wife and clothed them. And the Lord God said, "See, the man has become like one of us in knowing good from evil. And now suppose he were to reach out his hand and take the fruit of the tree of life, and eating it live forever." So the Lord God expelled him from the Garden of Eden to till the ground from which he had been taken. He drove the man out and stationed the cherubim east of the Garden of Eden with the flaming whirling sword to guard the way to the tree of life. The man had intercourse with his wife Eve, so she conceived and bore Cain. Then she said, "I have won back my husband, the Lord, he is with me." And later she bore his brother Abel. Abel was a shepherd, while Cain was a tiller of the soil. In the course of time, Cain brought some produce of the soil as an offering to the Lord, while Abel, on his part, brought some firstlings from his flock, that is, some fat pieces from them. The Lord took notice of Abel and his offering, but of Cain and his offering he took no notice. So Cain became very angry and downcast. And then the Lord said to Cain, "Why are you angry, and why are you downcast? If you have been doing right, should you not be happy? But if you have not, sin will be lurking at the door, and yet he is devoted to you while you rule over him." Then Cain said to his brother Abel, "Let us go off into the country." When they were out in the country, Cain attacked his brother Abel and murdered him. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Where is your brother Abel?" "I do not know," he said. "Am I my brother's keeper?" Whereupon he said, "What have you done? Hark, your brother's blood is crying to me from the ground. And now, cursed shall you be in banishment from the soil, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. Though you were to till the soil, never again would it yield you its full produce. A vagrant and a vagabond you shall be on the earth. Cain said to the Lord, My punishment is too great to bear. See that thou hast today driven me off the soil. I must remain hidden from thee. I must be a vagrant and a vagabond in the earth, and then anyone who comes across me will kill me. So the Lord said to him, In that case, sevenfold vengeance shall be taken on anyone who kills Cain. Then the Lord prescribed a mark for Cain to prevent anyone who chanced upon him from hurting him. So Cain left the presence of the Lord and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Cain had intercourse with his wife, so she received and bore Enoch. Then he became a builder of the city and named the city after his son Enoch. To Enoch was born Irad, and Irad was the father of Mehujael, and Mehujael was the father of Methuselah, and Methuselah of Lamech. Lamech married 2 wives, the name of one being Ada, the name of the other Zillah. Ada bore Jabal, who was the ancestor of those who live in tents as shepherds. His brother's name was Jubal, who was the ancestor of all who play the lyre and pipe. Zillah, in turn, bore Tubal-Cain, the forger of bronze and iron utensils, and the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. Lamech said to his wives, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice. You wives of Lamech, give ear to my words. I kill a man for wounding me, and a boy for striking me. If Cain is to be avenged 7-fold, then Lamech 70 and 7-fold. Adam again had intercourse with his wife, who bore a son. She called his name Seth, saying, God has given me another child in place of Abel, since Cain slew him. Seth in turn had borne a son to him and called his name Enosh. It was then that men began to call upon the name of the Lord. The following is a list of Adam's descendants. When God created man, it was in the likeness of God that he made him. Both male and female he created. He blessed them, and at the time of their creation he called them man. After living 130 years, Adam had a child born to him in his own likeness, resembling himself, and he called his name Seth. Adam lived 800 years after the birth of Seth, and was the father of other sons and daughters. Thus Adam lived together 930 years, and then he died. After living 105 years, Seth became the father of Enosh. Seth lived 807 years after the birth of Enosh, and was the father of other sons and daughters. Thus Seth lived altogether 912 years, and then he died. After living 90 years, Enosh became the father of Kenan. Enosh lived 815 years after the birth of Kenan, and was the father of other sons and daughters. Thus Enosh lived altogether 905 years, and then he died. After living 70 years, Kenan became the father of Mahalalel. Kenan lived 840 years after the birth of Mahalalel, and was the father of other sons and daughters. Thus Kenan lived together 910 years, and then he died. After living 65 years, Mahalalel became the father of Jared. Mahalalel lived 830 years after the birth of Jared, and was the father of other sons and daughters. Thus Mahalalel lived altogether 895 years, and then he died. After living 162 years, Jared became the father of Enoch. Jared lived 800 years after the birth of Enoch, and was the father of other sons and daughters. Thus Jared lived altogether 962 years, and then he died. After living 65 years, Enoch became the father of Methuselah. Enoch walked with God for 300 years after the birth of Methuselah, and was the father of other sons and daughters. Thus Enoch lived altogether 365 years. Enoch walked with God, and then he disappeared, for God took him away. After living 187 years, Methuselah became the father of Lamech. Methuselah lived 782 years after the birth of Lamech, and was the father of other sons and daughters. Thus Methuselah lived altogether 969 years, and then he died. After living 182 years, Lamech had a son born to him, and called his name Noah, saying, This is the one after our work and labor of our hands, to bring us consolation from the very soil which the Lord cursed. Lamech lived 595 years after the birth of Noah, and was the father of other sons and daughters. Thus Lamech lived altogether 777 years, and then he died. After Noah had become 500 years old, he became the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Presently, oh, that's the end. That's the end of chapter 5. Oh, good, because this is already 10 minutes. Okay, Psalm 2, a warning to the nations. Why do the nations rage, and the peoples plot in vain? The kings of earth stand up, and the princes also take counsel, against the Lord and against his anointed. Let us burst their bonds asunder, and cast their cords from us. He sits in the heavens, laughs, the Lord makes sport of them. Then he will speak to them with his wrath, and terrify them in his fury. I indeed have anointed my king on Zion, my holy hill. Let me tell of the decree of the Lord. He said to me, You are my son. Today I begotten you. Ask of me, and I will make the nations your inheritance, and the ends of the earth your possession. You shall break them with an iron rod. You shall crush them like a potter's vessel. Be cautious, therefore, O kings. Take warning, O rulers of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear. Kiss the chosen one, lest he be angry with you, perish in the way. For his wrath is soon kindled. How happy are they who take refuge in him. That ends Psalm 2. Matthew 2. Now after the birth of Jesus at Bethlehem in Judea, in the days of King Herod, astrologers from the east arrived at Jerusalem and asked, Where is the newly born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star rise, and we have come to do homage to him. When King Herod heard of this, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. So he called together all the high priests and scribes of the people and asked them where the Christ was to be born. They said, At Bethlehem in Judea, for this is what the prophet wrote. And you, Bethlehem, in Judah's land, you are by no means least important among the leading places of Judah. For from you will come a leader who will be the shepherd of my people Israel. Then Herod secretly sent for the astrologers and found out from them the exact time when the star appeared. And then he sent them to Bethlehem and said to them, Go and inquire particularly about the child, and when you have found him, bring me word, so that I may go and do homage to him too. So they obeyed the king and went, and the star which they had seen rise led them on until it reached the place where the child was, and stopped above it. When they saw the star, they were very glad, and they went into the house and saw the child with his mother, Mary, and they threw themselves down and did homage to him. They opened their treasure boxes and presented the child with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Then, as they had been divinely warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their own country by another way. When they were gone, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream and said, Wake up! Take the child and his mother and make your escape to Egypt and stay there until I tell you to leave, for Herod is going to look for the child in order to make away with him. Then he awoke and took the child and his mother by night and took refuge in Egypt and remained there until the death of Herod, to fulfill what the Lord said by the prophet, I called my son from Egypt. Then Herod saw that he had been tricked by the astrologers, and he was very angry, and he sent and made away with all the boys in Bethlehem, in that neighborhood, who were 2 years old or under, for that was the time he had learned from the astrologers by his inquiries. Then the saying was fulfilled, which was uttered by the prophet Jeremiah. A cry was heard in Ramah, weeping and great lamenting, Rachel weeping for her children, and inconsolable because they were gone. But when Herod died, an angel of the Lord appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt and said, Wake up, take the child and his mother, and go to the land of Israel, for those who sought the child's life are dead. Then he awoke and took the child and his mother and went to the land of Israel. But hearing that Archelaus was reigning over Judea in place of his father Herod, he was afraid to return there. And being warned in a dream, he took refuge in the region of Galilee, and he went and settled in a town called Nazareth, in fulfillment of the saying of the prophets, he shall be called a Nazarene. Thank you for listening. God bless you.